Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we get you the top 50 stories from around the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. In our top stories, the Israeli military says it has completely destroyed Hamas's brigade in Gaza's Rafah city. The Israeli forces claim to have killed over 2,000 Hamas fighters. They also said they have destroyed 13 kilometers of underground tunnel routes. A video released by the Israeli army showed the destruction of Hamas's tunnels in the Philadelphia corridor area, and that's the border between Gaza and Egypt. Israel believes that Hamas smuggled weapons through the tunnels under the Philadelphia corridor. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces said that the head of one of its elite intelligence units will resign soon. General Yossi Sariel will quit due to his failure to prevent the Hamas's October 7 attack. The Israeli media showed Sariel's resignation letter, where he asks for forgiveness for not fulfilling the mission. The U.S. State Department has released military aid worth $1.3 billion to Egypt. This comes as Cairo and Washington are working together on a Gaza ceasefire deal. Last year, the U.S. just sent part of this annual aid. It had withheld a portion due to Egypt's slow progress in releasing political prisoners. The U.S. has repeatedly accused Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of suppressing dissent. And former U.S. President Donald Trump has ruled out the possibility of another presidential debate with the Vice President Kamala Harris. This comes after polls showed that Harris had performed better in the September 10th debate. Trump made this announcement on his social media platform, Truth Social. Meanwhile, a judge in the U.S. state of Georgia dismissed 2 charges against Trump. The 2 charges were related to his alleged attempt to overturn the 2020 U.S. presidential election results. Despite the relief, 8 charges still remain against the former U.S. president. The remaining charges relate to racketeering and Trump's alleged participation in a scheme to overturn his Georgia defeat. And the U.S. Department of Justice has imposed sanctions on a Chinese research institute and several companies. Now, Washington says they were involved in Pakistan's ballistic missile program. In October 2023, U.S. authorities had issued sanctions on 3 China-based companies for supplying missile-applicable items to Pakistan. And North Korean leader Kim Jong Un visited a uranium enrichment facility yesterday, and this comes amid his commitment to boost the country's nuclear arsenal. Kim inspected the Nuclear Weapons Institute and a production base for weapon-grade nuclear materials. Russian forces have recaptured 10 settlements seized by the Ukrainian Army in the Kursk region. Russian units reclaimed these positions over the last 2 days in the area around Snagost. Now, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed that Russia has begun counter-offensive actions. And Russia's President Vladimir Putin has invited India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Russia for an official visit. Putin seeks to hold a bilateral meeting with Modi in the Russian city of Kazan on the 22nd of October. The meeting is expected to take place on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. Putin extended the invitation after meeting India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval yesterday, and Putin also asked Doval to convey his best wishes to the Indian Prime Minister. India's Supreme Court has granted bail to the Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal. Now, Kejriwal was arrested in April over an alleged liquor scam. He was accused of corruption during the formulation and implementation of a now scrapped excise policy. Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister of the Indian state of West Bengal, has offered to step down. She also publicly apologized to the people of West Bengal. This comes after the rape and murder of a trainee doctor in Kolkata led to widespread public anger and a doctor's strike. Although Banerjee tried to meet the doctors, they refused after the government declined to live stream the discussions. The doctors have continued to hold protest and accused Banerjee of mishandling the case. And the president of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has announced the dissolution of the country's parliament. New legislative elections have been scheduled for the 17th of November. Faye secured a presidential victory in March after promising to bring changes in the West African nation. But so far, his plans have been hampered by his party's lack of a majority in Senegal's parliament. And Morocco has confirmed its first case of Mpox. The virus has been detected in a man based in the city of Marrakesh. Morocco's health ministry says that the patient is in a stable condition. In climate news now, floods caused by heavy rain have devastated parts of northeast Nigeria. The floods have killed at least 30 people so far. Water is overflowing from a dam into the city of Maiduguri, and it has inundated roads and residential areas. Nigeria's floods have displaced around 400,000 people and have affected more than 1 million. In Sudan, floods have blocked aid to the conflict-hit regions. Heavy rainfall has flooded roads and damaged bridges. In May, the UN World Food Programme had raised an alarm over the possibility of communities being cut off and at risk of starvation. According to UN estimates, flooding may have affected over 300,000 people. And Typhoon Yagi has triggered heavy flooding in Myanmar. According to the Burmese Fire Department, the floods have killed 19 people so far. Rescue workers and firefighters have recovered bodies from flooded villages in the Mandalay region. And Storm Francine has left a trail of destruction in the U.S. state of Louisiana. Parts of the state are flooded due to heavy rainfall. Drone footage of Patterson City showed roads and residential areas inundated. The Category 2 Hurricane Francine has weakened into a tropical depression as it moved into the northeast direction towards central Mississippi. After days of battling raging wildfires, the Bolivian government has invested in cloud seeding. Bolivian Air Force planes have dispersed silver iodide into the air. The process helps in cloud formation and precipitation. Now, according to reports, wildfires in Bolivia have ravaged over 3 million hectares of land so far. And South America has surpassed the record number of fires recorded in a year. Brazil's Space Research Agency, the IMPE, has registered over 346,000 fire hotspots this year across 13 South American countries. This surpasses the earlier 2007 record of over 345,000 fire hotspots. According to scientists, the recent hot and dry conditions driven by climate change have helped the fires to spread more quickly. The continent of South America has been struggling with a series of heat waves since last year. And according to climate scientists, the risk of strong tropical storms like Typhoon Yagi is increasing due to climate change. The scientists believe that climate change is making storms wetter with their surges on the rise, and this could be a result of rising sea surface temperatures. The rising sea temperatures can fuel and possibly intensify a storm. Now, the world has warmed 1.3 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average. On to business and tech news. The European Central Bank lowered its benchmark interest rates yesterday. The ECB decides monetary policy for 20 European Union nations. The bank lowered its key interest rate from 3.75% to 3.5%. The ECB says it believes Eurozone inflation is moving toward their target level. This is the second time the European Central Bank has reduced its interest rates in 2024. Meanwhile, bets are ramping up around the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate decision next week. The U.S. dollar has weakened by as much as 0.41% against the Japanese yen in early trade today. Meanwhile, gold climbed 1.9% to reach a record high of $2,568 per ounce yesterday. Both yen and gold are considered good investment options when the Federal Reserve reduces interest rates. And Boeing's American factory workers will go on strike starting this evening. This comes after about 30,000 Boeing workers overwhelmingly rejected a new wage contract offered by the firm. The plane maker had promised to raise workers' pay by 25% over the next 4 years. Over 94% of the workers rejected the deal and voted to strike. Workers are demanding a 40% pay hike. This would be the first strike by Boeing workers since 2008. A U.S. banking regulator has found that American bank Wells Fargo's measures to combat money laundering and other illegal transactions are too weak. The regulator has barred the California-based bank from expanding into some risky businesses. Wells Fargo says it is working to address the problems. And American food manufacturer General Mills has announced plans to sell its North American yogurt business. Now, General Mills yogurt brands include Yoplait and Liberté. The Cheerios maker will sell its U.S. yogurt unit to French dairy firm group Lactalis. Meanwhile, its Canadian unit will be sold to another French firm, Sodial, and the combined deal is valued at over $2 billion. Now, the trial over the succession of media mogul Rupert Murdochs' business will start next week in the US. The court has decided to bar the public and media from the hearing. The trial relates to Rupert Murdoch's plans to amend voting rights in his family trusts. Murdoch wants to ensure his son Lachlan Murdoch takes over the trust after him. The plan is opposed by his 3 other children, James, Elizabeth, and Prudence Murdoch. Now, Rupert Murdoch's family trust controls media outlets like the Wall Street Journal and Fox News. And 2 SpaceX astronauts carried out the world's first private spacewalk yesterday. American billionaire Jared Isaacman and SpaceX engineer Sarah Gillis had ventured into space for about 30 minutes while being tethered to SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft. This was the first spacewalk not sponsored by any government. Meanwhile, billionaire Elon Musk has called the Australian government fascists. This is over a new law proposal aimed at tackling misinformation on social media. The law proposes massive fines on social media platforms if they fail to regulate content. Now, Musk's microblogging site X has been frequently accused of allowing misinformation and fake news. And ChatGPT maker OpenAI has launched a new series of artificial intelligence models called Strawberry. The firm says the new models are designed to solve more complex tasks through reasoning. The models are dubbed O1 and O1 Mini. Now, they will be available on ChatGPT and its other AI platforms from today. E-commerce giant Amazon and Walmart-backed Flipkart have reportedly violated competition laws in India. Now, this is according to a probe by the Indian antitrust regulator, the Competition Commission of India. The commission ordered the probe back in 2020. It had alleged that Amazon and Flipkart were giving preference to selective sellers on their platforms. Reports say the Competition Commission has found the allegation to be true. And moving on to sports news, and we start with cricket. The one-off test between Afghanistan and New Zealand in the Indian city of Greater Noida has been called off. The match was abandoned without a single ball being bowled. The venue has experienced relentless rain over the past few days, which made play impossible. It was the first time in over 90 years that a test match was cancelled on Indian soil. Indian all-rounder Hardik Pandya has dropped a hint about making a return to Test cricket. He posted a video of himself which showed him training with a red ball. The red ball was also known as the cherry in cricket, is used in Test matches, and the clip of him training triggered speculation that he might return to the format, and this comes just a week before India-Bangladesh Test series. And in football news, Cristiano Ronaldo has achieved another historic milestone. The Portuguese star hit 1 billion followers across all social media platforms. That makes him the first individual on the planet to breach the 1 billion follower mark. Ronaldo is most heavily followed on Instagram with over 638 million followers. And a trial related to the death of Argentine football legend Diego Maradona has been deferred. The case pertains to 8 medical professionals who are accused of negligence leading to his death. Maradona died of a heart failure in 2020. The medics have been charged with quote-unquote homicide by negligence and could face up to 25 years in prison. Their trial was supposed to start next month. It has now been delayed to March of 2025. And English Premier League club Arsenal have extended their contract with manager Mel Arteta. The former player turned coach now remains committed to the Gunners till at least 2027. Arteta joined Arsenal as their manager in 2019. He led them to the FA Cup title in 2020 and the Community Shield twice since taking over. But he has failed to win a Premier League or Championship League title. And French captain Kylian Mbappe is taking his former club Paris Saint-Germain to court. The dispute arises from unpaid dues that PSG owes to Mbappe. The total amount is over $60 million, and a French legal commission asked the two sides to settle the dispute and urged the club to pay the dues. However, PSG has refused to do so, saying it was a part of an agreement that Mbappe agreed to. In tennis news, 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal has pulled out of the Laver Cup. Now, the former world number one announced this online, expressing his disappointment. Nadal last played in the Paris Olympics. After that, he pulled out of the US Open due to fitness concerns. The Laver Cup, which pits Team Europe against Team World, starts from the 20th of September. And in athletics, India's javelin ace Neeraj Chopra is set to feature in the Diamond League final in Brussels. Along with him, runner Avinash Sable will also be leading India's charge at the event. Sable will compete on day one in the 3,000-meter steeplechase event, while Neeraj Chopra will be in action on day two. The Diamond League final will be held over this coming weekend. In Formula One, Lando Norris took a life-size Lego-built McLaren car for a spin at Silverstone. Now, the car required over 340,000 Lego pieces to be built and weighs 1,220 kilograms. It's the first Lego car that can actually be driven on a circuit. The beast took 23 professionals and over 8,300 hours to be designed. An independent prosecutor appointed by the World Anti-Doping Agency cleared it of any wrongdoing in its handling of a case involving Chinese swimmers. The controversy dates back to the Tokyo Olympics. At least 23 Chinese swimmers tested positive for a banned drug before the Games. However, they were still allowed to compete. The agency was later accused of wrongdoing. The investigator found that the WADA had handled the case professionally and didn't violate any rules. And moving on to some entertainment news now. MTV Video Music Awards saw a jump in its viewership compared to last year. The event got a little over 4 million viewers on its original telecast and 2 encore airings. Now, the viewership went up by 8% from last year's 3.78 million views. And this year's show represents the award's largest audience in 4 years. American rapper Kendrick Lamar has released a new song called Watch the Party Die. The 5-minute song appears to be making a reference to his beef with the Canadian rapper Drake. The track is Lamar's first new song since his single Not Like Us. And Netflix will explore Silicon Valley in its next drama series. The show, called Thumblight, is currently under work. The show features Rosamund Pike as both actor and executive producer. According to Netflix, Thumblight is a corporate thriller highlighting the schemes, rivalries, visions, and obsessions of power brokers. And the trailer for Salems Lot is out. The film is an adaptation of a horror novel by Stephen King. It stars Lewis Pullman, Mackenzie Lee, and William Sadler, among others. Salems Lot is about a writer who returns to his hometown and realizes that he needs to defend it from a vampire. The film is set to premiere at Beyond Fest on the 25th of September. And the Sundance Institute has narrowed down 3 locations for a new film festival. Cincinnati, Boulder, and Salt Lake City in the U.S. are the shortlisted locations. After a review, one of these 3 cities will become the long-term location for the festival starting from 2027. The final decision will be announced after next year's Sundance Film Festival. And Netflix has released the full trailer of the animated series Twilight of the Gods. The show by American filmmaker Zack Snyder is based on Norse mythology. Netflix had earlier revealed glimpses from the series that promised bloody vengeance. The animated film Inside Out 2 is set to premiere on the Disney Plus streaming platform on the 25th of September. The film is the sequel of the 2015 comedy film Inside Out. Inside Out 2 has grossed $1 billion at the global box office. And London is getting ready to celebrate 40 years of its Fashion Week. The London event officially began yesterday. It has evening shows and runs until the 17th of September. The program features 72 designers and 48 catwalk shows. And Karate Kid star Chad McQueen has died at the age of 63. He reportedly died of organ failure in Palm Springs. He was the son of legendary actor Steve McQueen. The news of Chad McQueen's demise was confirmed by his family. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. And horrifying details have emerged from the murder case of former Miss Switzerland finalist Christina Joot, and she was murdered by her husband in February. He then dismembered the 38-year-old model's body. According to Swiss officials, the victim's parts were pureed in a blender. The husband has confessed to the killing. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost. Hello.